Welcome to Live from Sparkwood in 21. This series chronicles one of the greatest television series of all time, Twin Peaks, created by David Lynch and Mark Frost. Joining me on this journey will be superfans Last Call with Troy Pacelli, Netter's Network, and Aged Boomer. Slide into a booth at the Double R Diner and order a damn fine cup of coffee and a heavenly slice of cherry pie as we delve into the secret diary of Laura Palmer. We have some friends in the chat. Big Out presents Lady Mist, the Emoji Queen, and Dee Dee Myers Jr. My fellow panelists are waiting backstage, so without further ado, I'm going to bring them on. Ladies first, Netter's Network. Troy Pacelli and Aged Boomer.
Hello.
There you go.
We're alive!
We're all live. My character. No.
Yeah.
We'll get to him later.
We will get to him later. Now, as everybody is well aware, Netter and Troy have not been 100%, so we
Excuse me.
as you can hear, and
Yeah, exactly.
So, and to be honest, I've been a little under the weather off and on myself, but so we took last week off to let everybody recharge the batteries, and our original plan was to air the audio edition of the Secret Diary of Laura Palmer, or at least the first hour of it. However, we were told behind the scenes that there could be some copyright issues airing the whole first hour, which was our intent. So we decided we're going to do a bit of an end run around that, and we're fans. We know the story. We have the book. We have the audio version. So we're just going to take the time to discuss kind of the major events of the book, or at least as many as we could get to tonight. All right. So the diary itself begins on... let me get the correct date here. July 22nd, 1984, when a then 12-year-old Laura Palmer... 12 years old.
That is what I want to underscore here. Take a look at that little girl. That's 12 years old for you. This is not the 18-year-old girl that we're seeing in the flashbacks in Twin Peaks. This is where she starts her diary as a 12-year-old, and you start realizing that this very young child has seen some stuff by the time we find her wrapped in plastic. Yeah.
So she's got the blonde hair.
I mean, yeah. It's amazing what AI artwork can do, right? I said, I need a picture of Laura Palmer at the age of 12 writing in her diary, and that's what it came out with. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's exactly what that is.
Wow.
So she's her first entry is literally about the fact that she receives her diary from her parents as a 12th birthday gift. So she starts journaling. And it starts out very, very simple, talking about what she's planning to do, what she got from Donna for her birthday, the fact that her cousin Maddie's coming to visit the following day, and she's got to go because Dad is calling her downstairs. He says he's got a big surprise for me. So, next page, she finds out that they're being taken with her dad to the Broken Circle stables, where she is being gifted a horse.
Oh.
Yeah, and at first she's under the impression that this is a gift from her father, because that's how it's presented to her. She, as a precocious child, goes to check to see if it is a boy or a girl. It turns out to be a boy. And she names the horse Troy. I kid you not.
Troy.
Yes. So the stables will be where the horse will be staying. She will be going to ride and groom and you know, like all little girls love having a horse. So, but what's really eerie is that after she talks about it and so happy that I got this horse for my birthday, what a great birthday, I'm luckiest girl in the world, love Laura Palmer, no, love Laura, P.S. I hope Bob doesn't come tonight. Bob in capital letters. Yeah, that is just you know, if you know where this story is going, what we're getting into, it's already way creepy, you know. Next day, very late night, couldn't sleep, had nightmare after nightmare. Finally chose to avoid sleeping altogether. Kind of goes through what her nightmare was about. I mean, my gosh, this is just heartbreaking stuff. Let's see. I'm having a hard time. Oh, let's see. July 23rd. Hang on, bear with me here. Yeah, this is kind of out of order because it's in book order.
Well, let's discuss that, because after a while, the chain of events in the diary itself do kind of feel like they are being told somewhat out of order. And we also have to deal with the fact that the psychological issues that she's starting to go through as the diary progresses, and we don't have all of the answers because, as we know from the show, some of the pages have been ripped out.
Exactly.
So, you know, we don't get all of the answers in there.
I see exactly what you mean, because it goes from July 22nd, 1984. Hope Bob doesn't show up, and then page ripped out. And the following page, now I see where it's going to. My apologies. Because then it follows up with, we don't know what came before it, it follows up with how I went to my safety deposit box and how I saw, oh wait, that's talking about something from the night before
like a little later.
She died.
Yeah.
Damn. This is very confusing. It's because I have it in PDF order and I don't have the physical book here.
Oh.
hold on. I am going to step away for a second. Carry the show. I'm going to see if I can find my physical copy.
Okay. Well, I do have my physical copy.
Do you want me to get it?
Right here. And now this is. I don't know what's going on with my camera. This is the. I see what happened. My background is blurred.
We're out of focus.
Pardon me. One moment while I adjust that.
I remember the scene about focusing from Hellboy 2. Focus. Remember that? It's like, with your accent, I wouldn't use that word. That's what he's... So how old is she? Oh, am I still on?
All right. Yes, we are still on.
Okay. So what grade is she in when she first starts writing the diary?
Well, all right. Well, she is 12 when we first meet her. So
this is why physical media is so much.
I'm trying to remember what grade you're in when you're 12, and for some reason I cannot remember. But yeah, so she's pretty much still in elementary school at this point in the diary. Now, what I am talking about. Jumping ahead a little bit in the story is that when you see, for example, pages like this, where it almost, I'm not sure if everybody can see this clearly, but there are passages in the book in which it appears, it's like it's different type from what is representing Laura to she's basically having these debates in her own mind, and it's like it's almost like I don't want to say multiple personality because that's not what's going on with Laura, but there are parts of the diary where it very much plays that way. And as you can see here a little bit later on, this is what we are talking about, and this is what is referenced in the show, which are, the pages ripped out.
Yeah.
Because,
and,
go ahead.
If you take a look at, like, page 105, she actually is having a conversation with someone else. She says, I'm growing crazy. Pacing and struggling with thoughts, words, the images of the haunting grin. Stay away from me, Bob. I can do whatever I want. Stay away from this house. Leave me alone, or I swear I'll find a way to make you sorry. Can't feel sorry, Laura Palmer.
Mm-hmm.
Look at where I am because of you and your sickness, your weakness. You are an awful creature. No confidence, no guilt. You said so yourself. I see you got yourself effed last night. An owl told me. Really into that one, aren't you, dirty girl? Laura Palmer, you should know by now that you can't impress me. I'm not impressed in what you do with your little coke friends. You all looked ridiculous, or so I heard. I mean, I would almost argue, from the point of view of someone reading this diary, it is like multiple personality.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, let's kind of back up and just kind of sum it up.
Right.
Because the whole idea was that we were going to talk about Laura Palmer's secret diary, right? So just like we're going through the entire story of Twin Peaks episode by episode, you got to expect this is going to be it's going to be spoiled here for you. So we're going to tell you what is in this diary. And it's a story of a 12 to 18-year-old girl, this is her journal, talking about the mental trauma she's going through because she's being abused. And her abuser she names as Bob. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm always going to have to point out that in her diary, when she refers to this abuser named Bob, it's always in capital letters to differentiate him from, Bobby Briggs or any other person that one would call Bob, right? It is the Bob that we have seen, in the first season, the character that Laura's mother saw at the foot of the bed, that she gave a description and they put out the APB. Have you seen this man? That Bob. That is who she sees as her abuser. So when this little 12-year-old girl writes in her first journal entry, "I hope Bob doesn't come tonight," that is what she's talking about.
Does she describe Bob?
Good question. I don't think she does, because it is told from her point of view. Maybe she does. But if she does, what she's describing is, the character played by Frank Silva in the series.
Right.
Which just a little hint to y'all, that's not what Bob looks like. That's how she sees him. That's the image that her mother saw. That's not really what Bob looks like. So there is this idea that she actually has conversations with Bob that work their way into her diary. And there are times when he makes her do things. Again, it does seem very much like a multiple personality sort of situation. Let's see here. Let's see here. And what is really heartbreaking is there are elements in this diary that are just so normal, right? I mean, it's told from the point of view of a girl who's coming of age. September 1st, 1984, my breasts ache, which is almost silly because they're so tiny. I'll admit that they are bigger than they were last week and certainly nicer looking. But God, they hurt. And I'm sure that is a part of puberty. It's probably the most normal kind of thing, you could ever imagine. I mean, there are some other things in here that are a little bit more personal than that. That I'm not going to describe. I just don't feel comfortable describing them from the perspective of a 12-year-old girl.
That, and there's also certain things in the diary that we want to kind of be careful around, not just because of, quite frankly, YouTube rules about going into some of the subjects that the diary goes into.
Just
but
good
also
taste.
Yeah, that, and also the fact that there are things there are clues that are given that give away things that happen in season 2.
Yeah,
and we do not want to give that away for those of you who are following us who haven't seen the show yet. So when we are coy about certain segments of the diary, it's not because we don't want to delve into them, it's just we don't want to do it yet because
right.
But I did want to also bring up, as I had said previously, this is written by Jennifer Lynch. She said there are a number of things in here that she describes that are very personal, that are really her remembering her childhood, right? So there are some elements where you're never 100% certain if it's, purely fiction or if it's something that Jennifer is sharing from her own childhood or whatever. But it does lend a degree of authenticity. That part that I just shared is one example. Another example is one that I will not go into that occurs on September 9th of 1984, where she explains another aspect of growing up. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
Something she discovers about herself that she's very happy about, that we don't need to really get into any farther than that.
No.
But the follow-up then is September 15th, 1984, to the person invading my privacy. I cannot believe the distrust I feel in my family and friends. I know for a fact that my diary was taken and read by somebody, maybe several someones. I will not be writing any more in this diary for a long time, if ever. You have ruined my trust and my feeling of security. I hate you for that, whoever you are. On these pages, I have written something too scary. I have written things sometimes too scary or too embarrassing to even read again myself. I trust that these pages are turned only by me, only when I wish. Many things are hurting and confusing me. I need my private pages in order to see my mind outside of me. Push it away. Please stay away from this diary. I mean it.
Mm-hmm. And it's more than a year before she writes in the diary again. Because the next
you're
next
right.
entry
September
is
15th to October 3rd, 1985.
October 3rd, 1985. Yeah.
Again, just as a girl would, she starts it out, Dear Diary, so she's talking as though she's talking to the book itself. So she says, I know it's not your fault. Someone found you and decided to pry. She's not blaming the diary itself. But, yeah.
Right, and that entry also explains that her father did not buy her the horse. It was actually Ben Horn that bought the horse. And
which, when you think it through, kind of financially makes a great deal more sense.
Yeah.
He definitely has the kind of money to do that. Yes, I understand that Leland is an attorney, but he's an attorney in a very, very small town. He doesn't have the kind of money that an attorney, say, in a big city would have. So. She has a situation where she loses her cat, Jupiter.
Mm-hmm.
Talks about the fact that she can't talk to Donna about her fantasies and nightmares. And then on October 12th, 1985, she tried a marijuana cigarette. She had a sleepover at Donna's place.
Donna's bad influence on her.
Well,
giving her those marijuana cigarettes.
Yeah. And she actually goes into the story of how they got a hold of it, hanging out with some boys and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. we have a week skip ahead. Sorry I haven't written, but it's really been kind of crazy around here. Well, here inside me at least. Home is just the same, irritating more than anything else. God, I feel so trapped sometimes, like I have to wear a permanent grin on my face or else everyone freaks out on me. Again, a lot of talk about what she can and can't tell Donna. The fact that Donna's worried about her, which kind of plays into where we find Donna at the beginning of season 1. She knew there were things going on that Laura couldn't talk about.
Would you say Laura had a dead woman's eyes or dead man's eyes, I guess, the expression?
I'm not sure I'm familiar with that expression.
Meaning someone who smiles, but the eyes, it's a fake smile because the eyes also don't correspond with the smile. Do you understand?
Oh,
yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
She as much as says so directly.
Yeah.
That we definitely see that she's already completely lost her innocence. You see the little glimmers of it here and there in some of the things she shares, but it's so heartbreaking because you already know that she's well beyond that, and she's seen things that no little girl should ever have seen, and experienced things she should not have ever experienced at this age. Let's see here. So on November 10th, she's just checked in with. So she stops by the stables to see Troy. Private road. It took Troy out. All sorts of thoughts went through my head, and I even cried a little because I started to think about Josh and Tim and Rick and how I would probably never see them again. I thought about how Donna hadn't called me yet today, and I was worried she was thinking I was bad or something, and I felt a very deep need to talk to her. I hope she doesn't stop liking me. Again, because they were out doing stuff with the boys, right?
Right.
I don't know what I would do if that happened, so I kept seeing this address in my head each time I finished a thought, no matter what it was. And finally, I found myself in front of this very old abandoned gas station. I got off Troy and tied him to the frame that was still there, the frame that goes around the top of the pumps. The one with the sign telling you which gas is which. Grass was growing there, and I just let him graze so I could look around. When I walked around Troy so that I was completely facing the station, I saw the log lady standing very quietly with her log right underneath the piece of wood that said 1400 River Road. She smiled at me, and I realized I had seen her face in my dream. We didn't say anything to each other for a long time. We just stared, smiling. I wasn't uncomfortable, but I was pretty curious about what I was there for. And just as I was thinking this, she spoke to me. She said, "I know you're feeling curious about this place and about me." I nodded. "A dream told me I was supposed to meet you here so that we could spend some time," she said. My stomach did a flip and my mouth dropped open. "I dream like other people sometimes," she said calmly. "It just happens." I never realized that Margaret, the log lady, was so nice. We sat together on the grass out in the front, and she told me she knew a lot of things about me, special things. She said I should not worry so often. If I pay attention to the things around me, these special things will come. She would often touch her log, be silent as she leaned down close to listen to it. Most times she would smile as if she were amused and pleased. Other times she would tell the log that she would not hear about that now. This was not the time. The last time that happened, she turned to me and whispered, "Things are not what they seem." She looked away, then turned back with a different look on her face, as if she were relieved we were still alone. She said she knew I had been dreaming of being a woman and that this was good because young girls always do. Then her words got confusing. She said many things about the woods, and I tried to listen very carefully because I trusted her and thought maybe she knew something that would help me. A lot of it seemed like gibberish. I remember it, so I write it down, but I don't know what it means. Maybe I'll understand it later. What I did understand made me feel so good inside, like I wasn't being bad all the time, maybe, and that I could keep on hoping for things without being afraid that I was acting selfishly. Here are some of the things she told me. She said that sometimes the woods are a place to learn about things and to learn about yourself. Other times, the woods are a place for other creatures to be, and it's not for us. She said that sometimes people go camping and learn things they shouldn't. Children are prey sometimes. I think that's how she said it. What else? I tried so hard to remember everything. Oh, she told me that she would be watching, and someday people will find out that she sees things and remembers them. She said that it is important to remember things you see and feel. Owls are sometimes big. That's one of the things I had forgotten totally. Owls are sometimes big. I hope that doesn't mean my mom talked about that owl dream I had. I don't think so, but that's the only way it makes sense to me. I hope I'll understand all of this soon. Either way, we kept sitting together, and I listened to her hum this song that I never heard before, but I thought it was very nice. It made me feel safe, which I think she was trying to make me feel. I feel sorry for her, that people think that she's strange and weird. She isn't at all. I could see in her eyes that something had hurt her, and I didn't even begin to understand what it was until Mom told me when I got home. She said Margaret, the log lady, had a husband who was a firefighter. He was killed fighting a fire, and Mom said it was awful because he tripped over a root or something and fell head first into hot coals and burned himself to death, face first. They had just been married a little while when he died, and since then Margaret has been very quiet and has kept her pain to herself. Mom also said that she didn't have her log until after her husband died. I didn't know any of this when I was out there at 1400 River Road with her, but it didn't really matter, I guess. I told her I thought she was a very nice and special person, and that I was glad I had paid attention to my dream because I wouldn't have wanted to miss talking with her. I told her I hoped she was right about my life having special things in it, that I will look for them because I want my life to be good. Then I told her something that I hope she never repeats. I didn't even expect to say it, and to tell the truth, I didn't know where it came from. I told her that sometimes things happen that no one knows about. They happen in the woods when it's very dark. I told her that sometimes I wasn't even sure these things were real. And sometimes I think there are more real than the sun, that they are more real than the sun coming up in the morning. and that the thought of that frightens me very much. She looked away from me, I remember, when I finished. I thought I had said something that upset her. She grabbed her log tight, then looked back at me and said that I was a very beautiful girl and that many people would love me in my life. I hope many people do love me in my life. Someday, someone will love me the way the boys did, but even more. I wonder where that person is right now, and if he is wondering where I am and what I look like, and when we will finally meet. On the way home, I tried to hum the song that she had hummed to me, but I couldn't remember it. I felt very good inside when I left 1400 River Road, and that feeling stayed with me all through my ride back to the stables, all the way home with Mom in the car, and even now, it is just as strong. I hope Margaret isn't feeling lonely right now. I hope she is feeling as happy as I am. I only wish I could have brought her news of how happy her life would be. It's too bad I had nothing for her. More later, Laura. P.S. Donna still hasn't called me back. Wow. So the day that Laura spent time with Margaret Lanterman. A lot of poetry that Laura writes. I never had a very good head for poetry myself. Never really made a lot of sense to me.
Is that her saying this or you saying?
No, I'm saying this about it. Because the next entry is a poem that she wrote, and it makes no sense to me at all.
Can I hear it? How long is it?
It's about a page.
That's a long poem.
November 13th, 1985. Listening to the woods. Inside the trees are souls, I think. Souls that grow and change. Inside each leaf so quiet. A memory of moments no one else has seen. But no man ever listens, takes the time to think. The trees might see what happens. That in the way they rustle is a hint they wish to speak. They might have tried to whisper in the palm of someone's hand their memory of the little girl, how there is a new hole inside her and a new and smaller mouth, and no one believes or cares. That maybe the tree would know something was very wrong, that it wants to talk about the sadness. It has seen so many nights. I think the world should walk deep into the woods, listen very carefully to the voices in the leaves, see the details, the tiny maps of footsteps and sometimes stains. They should see that the leaves are shaped like tears. They should study the design in fallen needles. Maybe there are some markings on the ground that will lead the world to the one who made the whole. Yep, that's somebody that's dealing with some stuff. But I will say one thing, the imagery of the trees, memories in wood and so forth, that's going to be some imagery that's definitely going to be coming back in season 2. And we will talk more about that. I think you may have some inklings about it, when you consider Margaret Lanterman and the death of her husband and her log.
Does she talk about her first kiss?
Well, we've actually already gotten past the first kiss.
Past that. Yeah.
Some other firsts that she had with those boys that she was talking about.
Okay, sorry.
No, that's okay. Just don't want to get into the details.
Okay, I see.
Yeah, there's yeah. It's
so how old
graphic.
is she when she's talking about all this stuff, though? Is she younger or is she...
Like 13.
Wow,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. And from what I've gathered from people that I have talked to throughout my life, apparently this is not as uncommon as the male of the species might suspect. In reading something like this, I guess everyone matures at a different pace, and some are less sheltered than others. So I guess this isn't quite so uncommon, as uncomfortable as it is being a boy reading a girl's diary. I guess this sort of thing happens.
Yeah, but that was the interesting thing for me again. Being in high school when Twin Peaks aired originally, and then getting into it and getting into the whole multimedia angle of it, and me being, at least at the time anyway, a very voracious reader. I always had a book with me, and you do get to feel that way a little bit. It did feel very much like invading someone's privacy up to a point, because I was attacking it from trying to find clues within the diary, and there certainly are some, but including one passage in particular that pretty much flat out states everything that is happening. And when I got to that page, I was like, holy, ooh, okay. And that just opened a lot of doors for me. And but anyway, while reading the book, it's like I'm looking for clues to the mystery. At the same time, it eventually hit you that, you are reading a teenage girl's diary, in a very authentic seeming one too. And there are parts where you do feel like you're invading her privacy, and
that's
there are
Jennifer
a couple of moments. And there are a couple of moments where you're just flat out thinking, "Ew."
Yes,
didn't need to know that.
And Jennifer did describe to us exactly that. That was her goal, was to put that kind of authenticity into it. Now all the details, that stuff about Margaret and the trees and the details, she got directly from her dad and from Mark Frost, because she knew by the time she was writing this diary, and she's talking about Bob, she knows who Bob is. She was one of the 3 people at the time that this book was written. She was one of the 3 people who knew who killed Laura Palmer. So she did know, as she was going through this, the actual identity of Bob. Which, you'd have to, right? I mean, because she is, not only is she writing from Laura's perspective, but she also needs that omniscient, 30,000 foot overview that her father and Mark have, right? Because in a way, she's no different than a writer of an episode, right? As she's writing Laura's diary. But there's this element that I don't want to read too far into it because it's a long segment, but I do want to read this paragraph. This is August 3rd of 86, so she's about 14, I guess, at this point. She's talking about telling her parents that she's going to be out as late as they are tonight. I have to keep loving them, meaning her parents, like their little girl should. I have to support what I have not chosen, but have quite simply been given. 2 lives, 2 very different lives. The naughtier Laura had a date with Bobby Briggs in Lowtown. He said he knew of an abandoned barn out there no one would find us. I liked the idea that I would have him alone someplace where I could go kind of crazy on him. I was nervous for a bit because I suddenly realized that this was not the Bob I hated. This was the young Bobby who swaggered up to smiling Laura Palmer and asked if she would be his. No matter, I play him like he needed me to. I knew he was aware that I never made love with a boy before. I knew it would be different with someone who took care. I knew it might pull me back to 13 years old when I learned, don't want to get too much more into this as she starts to talk about, I could have Bob watching me right now at any moment. So she does have this duality that she talks about. This is one of the early points when she's talking about living a double life. There is this darker life she lives, and I think what she considers to be less real, as she puts on the smiling face and pretends to be happy and so forth. Let's see.
So I have a question about the log lady.
Yes.
The log lady's log her husband's like soul or something, or is that, am I reaching?
It's never been expressly said, but I think you've picked up that that's kind of my interpretation. And obviously that segment that I read from the diary here kind of implies it as well. That wasn't a huge revelation, because what her mother tells her about Margaret's husband's death is exactly what we saw in the second to the last episode of the season. It was, described literally in dialogue. And yes, this is the second time that we are, where it's confirmed that she didn't talk to a log before her husband's death, and now she talks to a log all the time. But there is something else coming up in second season that makes it overtly clear that the concept of a soul inhabiting wood is something that happens in Twin Peaks. So the idea that her husband is manifest in her log seems less crazy after what the audience witnesses later on. And again, you always have to keep track of who knows what, right? You're the audience, you see things that the other characters don't, and you have to interpret what that means. Are you seeing something that's real? Is it real if no one else sees it? If a tree falls in the woods, nobody's around to hear it, does it have Margaret Lanterman's husband in it? That's all.
Yeah.
But August 6th, 1986, I cannot let myself sleep because I have to see Bob when he comes through the window. I have to be ready.
Ready.
Yeah.
Yikes. I keep wondering if Nadine and the log lady ever met on the show.
Nadine. Well,
Am I getting their
seen
name
it
right?
happen in season 1.
Okay.
They certainly would have run into each other if they didn't
sure.
have any direct communication. I mean,
It would be interesting how they would interact with each other. That's all I'm thinking.
They have both, for example, been in the diner at the same time, I believe.
Yes.
But, and Boomer, have you seen second season? You have.
Yes. It's been a while, but yeah, I've seen it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because, I actually don't even want to comment on that because we were left on a cliffhanger that I don't want to resolve for anybody who hasn't seen it yet. So let's hold off on that.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. Right. But just remember where Nadine lets her story left off, right? Don't want to get any farther than that.
All right.
Sorry, I haven't written but so much has happened tonight. As I was getting ready for bed, Bobby came to my window. That's Bobby Briggs. A beautiful, dreamy sight that sent me reeling. He says there is a party we couldn't miss out at the end of Sparkwood. A friend of his, Leo, who I think I've heard of before in the air of gossip that I often hunt down, is throwing a party. I warned him I had only thought seriously of curling up with him, and confessed that I was missing more sleep than I need to be sociable. He promised me there would be no problem in the alertness department, and he had a new treat for me to try that sometimes negates the need for sleep entirely.
Uh-huh.
I'm out the window, diary. Shush. I'll tell all the moment I return. I'm hiding you. Beware of Bob. He is sometimes tardy. Laura. P.S. It just struck me that Bob's name is a warning in and of itself. B, beware. O, of. B, Bob. So it was, this entry on October 1st of 86, where she goes and meets Leo Johnson and does coke for the first time.
Leo's a swell guy.
Isn't he, though?
Yeah.
But I'm at about the midway point of the book here, and it starts to get pretty intense from there. And I don't know if you want to postpone the rest, since we are at the halfway point of the book, just kind of stop there for now, or do you want me to just sum up the rest of it in like 5-10 minutes? It starts getting pretty wild from this point.
It does.
And I've described some pretty wild stuff already.
As it is, yeah. The second half of the diary really is a descent into kind of
a descent into madness.
Her
That's
personal
all of what it is.
Madness, yeah.
Descent into madness. Okay.
Yeah, I mean there are more entries from Bob in here. There are more pages missing.
It's almost as if as the narrative of the diary is fracturing, it's her mind fracturing as well.
Yeah.
At least that's the way I see it, because that's the point, as I said earlier, where you start reading and go, ew, it's unpleasant, and I feel like I because it's like this. You get that she's in pain. You have an idea at that point who the cause of the pain is.
Yeah. Real quick.
And you want to jump in and save her, but you can't, because it's like it's already done.
I'm so glad you said that. I want you to hold on to that thought, that perspective, until we get to the end of season 3, which you haven't seen yet. I'm glad you brought that up, because that theme comes back in a huge way in the resolution of season 3. Real quick, I am going to jump ahead. This is very out of context, even if you're reading the diary page for page. This is very out of context. But she says on February 1st of 88, she says, I've been going over and over my physical encounters and have decided that it is important to look at least the initials of each person I have been with. And then she lists the initials of everyone she's been physically intimate with. And there's a lot of them here that you could only guess at who they are. But the first one is B. The second one is BB. And the third one is LJ. Those should actually be obvious.
I know who LJ is.
Mm-hmm. Actually, some of the later ones are too, but we haven't gotten there yet, so we'll go over that. But I just find it very interesting that, yeah. Anyway, so yeah, that probably is the best place to hold. You know, if you want, we can finish this up next week. Then the second half of the diary.
Right.
All right. I'm kind of curious. Maybe I'll have to look into purchasing it in the meantime, getting caught up if I can. That might be something cool.
I'll tell you what, it's an uncomfortable read, but it is genius multimedia fiction. I think is the best way to put it. Because I'll be honest with you, when they find the diary in season 1, that cover, that burgundy cover with the gold clasp, that's exactly what the printed diary looks like, you know? And so as you're reading it, you're like, it's like you're actually reading a prop from the show, you know? And you're uncovering things that are like, oh my gosh, you know, this is, you know, something that they actually talked about in the show, or, oh, they haven't gotten to that point yet, or they don't know that yet, or whatever the case is. But yeah, a lot of the last pages of the diary are ripped out. I actually will save this until next week. Yeah.
Cool.
Whew.
And no Dale Cooper.
Right, because Dale Cooper, yeah, he does not. There is no reason that he would actually be mentioned in here at all. Am I right? Even in a dream, she wouldn't have had a mention of Dale. I don't think.
Well, there is, and I'm trying to remember if it's in the diary or not.
See, the thing that's really hard, since it's been a while since I've actually physically read the book, I tend to confabulate between what's in the diary and what's in Fire Walk with Me.
Yeah, and there's actually a scene in the show between Cooper and Donna where Donna reads a passage from the diary.
Right.
And because it goes into the whole Mike and Bob thing.
Right.
And there's the line that stuck out is, I wonder if the guy in my dream is Mike, and Mike is there to protect me.
Oh.
And I don't want to go too deep into that because it's going to give away something, not only in the show but in the film as well.
That's right.
But there is a through line, and especially when you get to the Fire Walk with Me movie, and there's a certain scene that happens in that.
Exactly, yeah.
It all connects.
I'll tell you what, the thing about Fire Walk with Me is it gets very wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey.
Yeah.
You have got to... The fact that it is a prequel to the series matters not at all, because you need to have seen the whole series for a lot of the scenes to make sense. Some flash forwards and flashbacks and whatnot, and some real crazy type of stuff. So yes, and
I hesitate calling it a prequel.
Yeah,
because of that, because of the fact that there are so many things in it.
Yeah, I mean, many of the elements many of the elements are prequel in nature in that they took place before and leading up to the first episode of Twin Peaks. But there are elements that are direct temporal reverberations of things that haven't happened yet in the timeline that the story is set that are not prequels. Exactly. Come to
Temporal
think of it,
reverberation. I'm very glad that you put it that way, Christopher Nolan. And
oh God. Oh
it
God.
kind of, no, but I mean that in a good way though.
Yeah.
Because and when I get, and again, maybe we're going into spoilers here a bit, but I get the feeling that's going to play into season 3 when we get to it, because that's part of my...
I've been trying very hard not to even allude to that fact, but I think you're keyed in, and I think I think you're right. Yes,
because even in the series, and when I say series, I mean the first 2 seasons, the ABC seasons. You kind of get that idea already. And when we get further into season 2, I'll explain what I mean, because when I almost just said something that was going to give away the entire second half of the second season, and I don't want to do that.
Yeah. But because I'm sitting here looking at one of the characters who shows up later on in season 2, but she's also in Fire Walk with Me, and it doesn't make a lot of sense. And it's like, okay, well, let's hold off on that, because we will be looking at Fire Walk with Me again after we finish season 2, and we'll go through all of that.
And I think that's interesting too. And chat, please sound off on this, especially those of you who were there for the Fire Walk with Me episode of Friday Night Last Call that we did. I think you're going to look, if you've just only seen the movie before and you hadn't seen the series, and you just went into it blind, starting with the movie. First off, if you did that, what the hell?
What's wrong with you?
What's wrong with you? But I think if you've only seen Fire Walk with Me and you haven't seen at least the first 2 episodes of the series before, if you go back and watch it after that, you're going to look at that through different eyes. And you're going to pick up on, okay, now that makes more sense. The David Bowie scene is still batshit insane, and I think I'm going to have to wait till season 3 to figure out what all of that was about. But it does oddly connect in temporal reverberation. That's going to be in my head now, because it really does feel like what was that line in Gladiator? Your actions today will echo in eternity.
Gladiator by Ridley Scott.
Yes. So and that's kind of what Twin Peaks kind of is to me. And I don't mean that to say that there's literal time travel going on. I don't want to go that far. Again, not having seen season 3. But it all has to do with... There's something very ancient in the woods. Something...
Those of you
dare I say primordial.
I was just going to say, those that are Lovecraft fans will definitely see some Lovecraftian elements in... well, I mean, it was certainly kind of touched on when the Bookhouse Boys were talking about why they do what they do. This evil in the woods, how they've formed this secret society to defend Twin Peaks against it. This is, actually, this was my first experience with something like that. But as I started talking to people, they would be, "Oh, that's very Lovecraftian." Well, what's Lovecraft? And then that's how I, started finding out about Lovecraft.
And this is going to sound weird, and I hope it makes sense, but it keeps popping into my head now. In the series Person of Interest, there's a scene between Elias, who's like a mob boss, and Simmons, who's a corrupt cop. And Elias says to Simmons, they won't kill you because they're civilized. But we're outliers. We're something older. We don't play by those rules anymore. And whatever is in the woods, if it's ever identified or physically seen, whatever is there is an outlier. It does not play by our rules. It doesn't care about laws. And there is that darkness in the woods. And the more I think about Twin Peaks, the more I start to kind of wish that they had delved maybe a little bit more into that during the ABC seasons. But they don't really go there because everybody got obsessed with, you must solve the mystery.
Yeah. And
I think that I'm finally starting to think maybe this is what was frustrating David Lynch so much.
I'm sure it absolutely was.
He does. Yeah. It wasn't about solving the mystery to him. It was about
the journey.
The journey, and I am more interested now, especially when we get to season 3. I am going to be more interested in that journey, I think.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely.
Anyway, I don't know if anything I said in the last 10 minutes makes any sense, but
it does. It does to me, and I think it will. If anyone is having a hard time following it, stick with us. It'll make more sense as we go.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of like that ad that MTV used to have for the Max. Fill in the blanks, find more blanks.
Yeah.
I remember the Max.
Yeah, I love the Max. That was a good one.
It was a good cartoon series. MTV used to do some good stuff. That's sort of what I got into before I got into anime, when they were doing those weird shows. Aeon Flux was another one.
Aeon Flux,
to watch all those things. Yeah, I miss MTV. I mean, no, I don't even know if Beavis and Butthead, the new one, counts as an MTV show, or if that's just on Paramount. I don't know. Oh well.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm glad to see that we have not lost any of you. You've remained with us.
And what I would ask of the chat is, and especially those, I mean, obviously those that are here right now, but anyone that stops by in the future too, drop your comments. Let us know what you're thinking, how you're feeling about this. Are we attacking this in a way that makes it manageable and bite-sized for you? Whatever feedback you've got for us would be really, really good.
Yeah, because whenever I say, say hello in the comments or anything like that, I don't just mean that just for the algorithm, even though it does help. I want to know, where are you on this? What are your theories? Especially if you're new to the series at all. Let us know. I do look at comments and I do answer every one of them back. And so I'm curious to know, what are your theories? What are you thinking? What do you think of the Lovecraft angle? Which one of the characters is the hottest? I don't anything. I don't, whatever, but yeah, because I mean, this is a show that it's like Shrek. It has layers, you know, and I'm still discovering 30 years later all of the layers, you know, and I just peeled one off tonight, I think, you know, and so one thing's for sure, I got to reread this thing. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, this is one of the reasons why we wanted to go into the books too, because, you know, like I said, it's a whole other level of mystery to unwrap. You know, Twin Peaks is not just about this poor girl being murdered. There's a lot more going on under the surface, and you got to dig deep.
Yep.
And it's a journey that I'm still on, and will be at least until I see all of season 3. Maybe I will never completely be out of it. You know, I said something back when we did one of the Friday Night Last Call shows that you know, I feel like Ed Harris in Westworld. You know, you know, the gamer that has to play all of the levels, that has to find all of the Easter eggs, you know. But unlike him, I don't want to know everything, because you know, I'm not going to find anything like this again, I don't think.
Well, we were hoping Outer Range might have been good, but have they even come back yet? Remember Outer Range?
No, they haven't. And I've
heard them so long.
I've heard nothing about that show. I would very much like it to come back.
They are in the midst of filming it. It's due out in 2024.
Okay.
Oh, nice. Good. Okay.
Yep.
You know, because obviously, you know, the strikes pushed a lot of things back as well. So that's another thing that we have to take into consideration with anything new. I don't know what next year's going to look like. Kind of going off subject a little bit. We're going into Geeky Geezers territory here a bit, but you know,
want to think about next year. Oh,
yeah, because it's like, yeah, you know.
I wonder what the Academy Awards are going to be like this year, considering how political a certain issue has gotten, and that Hollywood is currently divided. It might get nasty. I'm not going to bring that issue up on your show, but you know what I'm talking about.
No, that's fine. Bring up whatever you want. But you know, we had a couple of movie trailers come out this week that to me just look like bad news.
Well, you know, and I've heard a couple people comment on them, basically saying these are the kinds of things that need to die. Just like that, what was that movie, the gay guys? That was just a straight gay movie that nobody was interested in except, you know, very dedicated members of the LGBT community. And it just tanked. And it's like, well, duh.
It was too expensive. That was
you had a very, very niche audience. Yeah. What you do if you're going to make a movie like that is you release it at Sundance, you release it, you know, in San Francisco and a few other cities, you know, and then you go directly to stream. That's what you do with those kinds of things. And apparently that's what they're doing with some of these others that are just divisive to the general public, and only a very tiny slice of the population would even have any interest in these movies.
Right. Now, I'm a fan of any movie that gets made.
Sure.
You know, good for you. You got the money, however you got it, to make it. You hired a crew, you hired a cast, you got a camera. You went out and you made whatever movie you wanted to make. You know, the August Underground movies are not my cup of tea. But good for that guy for making it, you know, on his credit cards, basically. You know.
I still got to see The Room.
The Room, yeah.
I mean, did not hit her. I did not.
Did
it's
not.
bullshit. Oh, hi, Mark.
Hi, Mark.
How is it I can quote lines from a movie I've never even seen? You're tearing me apart, Lisa.
Maybe we need to watch Party That and just rip the hell out of it. I don't know.
Yeah, there's got to be a watch party of that.
The Room is one of those movies that is kind of like Manos, the Hands of Fate,
basically,
or this movie that Jedi Bill and I have watched a couple of times called Ghost Riders, where it's so bad it's actually kind of pretty good. You know, to just kind of riff on it, you know. But yeah, like I said, I'm a fan of any movie that gets made because, you know, you got the money, you got the crew, you got the cast, and you let the chips fall where they may. But I mean, if you make a movie where you know you're going to lose half the audience going in, you can't complain if it tanks.
Yeah.
And he says, Netflix is the land of movies and TV shows that no one else would make. The movie Big Al just put the video out for this Leave the World Behind thing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, very divisive film. I'm kind of back and forth on it, on wanting to see it, because there's the part of me that's curious because there are people whose opinions I respect who have had favorable reviews of that movie. And then there are others that have just said it's just this complete woke crap, don't even bother. And I'm like,
so I mean, it probably is, and
it's probably a little of both. You know,
I mean, I'll be honest with you. The basic element of the story, as I understand it, this idea of a cyber attack that could shut down the U.S., probably not a bad story to tell. No. I think a lot of people have voiced how. I mean, look, you know, you go back to 2019, 2020, you know, and we had so much of our grid shut down because of lockdowns and can't bring anything into the country, and people started to look and go, wait a minute, why is it so many things are being imported from outside this country and they're all, you know, out at sea on tanker trucks because we're not allowing them in? And people started going, well, gee, maybe we need to start bringing some of that manufacturing back to the United States. Great, we learned a lesson there. But some lessons, you know, by the time you learn it, it's too late. If someone sets off a series of EMPs that, you know, wipe out our grid, I mean, some of us would be able to survive okay. Most of us probably couldn't. And I don't know about you all, but I was just at the doctor's office last week, and as I was sitting there and looking around, I was the only one not staring at a telephone.
I wasn't either.
You weren't in the room.
Oh.
You were out. You were. That was that week that I came on my own.
Oh.
But literally, children, adults, old people, everybody staring into a phone. And I'm like, have we lost the ability to just sit and wait patiently as patience? You know, it boggled my mind, and I realized absolutely these people cannot function without they need their dopamine hit. I don't know if they're crushing candies or what they're doing on their phones, but they got to get their dopamine hits. Constantly.
Candy Crush.
Yeah, whatever. But there you go. So, yeah, maybe that particular element of story isn't a bad story to tell. You know? So, but anyway.
Right, anyway. All right, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. Yep. I would like to thank everybody that was And to chat, Big Al Presents, Lady Mist, Connie Cleary, Nate is here. Samuel Proctor is joining us here at the end. All right, let me scroll back through. I want to make sure I didn't miss anyone. D.D. Myers Jr. And I'm sure we had a number of people who were in and out in the background. And I also want to thank everybody who's been watching us on Twitter as well. So thank you all for being here. I cannot see your comments, but just simply do so in the normal spot, and I'll see you back. All right. All right, folks, that was the first half of The Secret Diary of Laura Palmer. Rejoin us here. What do you say, guys? Next week?
Next week, yeah.
What day is next week? That's
Tuesday.
The day after Christmas, right?
The day after
That's
Christmas.
Boxing Day, yeah.
Boxing Day. A special Boxing Day edition of Sparkwood and 21.
Sparkwood and 21, indeed. All right, well, we will be going over the second half of the diary as such as we can without going into too many plot points. But, join us right back here. Thank you all for watching. Hit the like, share out the stream, say hello in the comments, let us know your theories. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe. I am, I think, 17 subs away from 300.
Wow.
If I remember correctly. So I would very much like to get there by the end of the year so we can do a big 300 sub party.
Are you going to show the 300?
Yeah, show the 300 again.
Well, there's a 300 sequel he could do, too.
Oh, my gosh, that's right.
Yeah.
You could do Rise of the Empire. Oh, my gosh.
The Empire.
That's not actually a bad idea. Oh, that would be great.
Ava Green's in that one, right?
Yeah, we could talk about the Athenian naval battle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There's a great documentary on Tubi about the making of Roger Corman's Fantastic Four movie.
Is there?
Yeah.
That sounds interesting.
Interesting. Also, blatant plug, Attack at the Dock, Chris Gore's film, is also available to be seen free on Tubi. So go over and check that out as well.
Yeah, he had been talking about that, so good.
And if I remember correctly, our pal Tom Conkle's film, Trouble's My Business, is also on Tubi. It is. If I remember correctly, yeah.
It is. I believe the one on Tubi is the black and white version, so that's probably the way to go.
Oh, nice.
That's the best version.
Definitely. It's the best version, yeah. All right. Well, we're going to go around the panel here. Natter, what do you have coming out?
Let's see. Thursday things. I don't have a guest for the rest of the year.
I was thinking, though, that because it is the episode before we go into Christmas, maybe we do a Christmas watch party of some kind. Maybe like the Peanuts Christmas special or something.
Oh.
Something? We could probably do a little something.
There we go.
I like the New Year's special too, where he had to read War and Peace. Remember that one?
Yes, I actually do.
I actually don't remember that one.
That's a funny one. Oh, it's so depressing.
It kind of is.
It's a Christmas break. It's more about Christmas break than Christmas. That's what I'll say.
I do remember holidays like that where we'd have to read large segments of books.
Please stop.
And my mother would be like, "Oh, for crying out loud!"
It's
I mean,
so
just
annoying.
Yes, I'm sure she probably appreciated me being able to stay busy, but even she was like, "Come on, it's a holiday.
Yeah,
the kids need to, and she would like read out loud to me. She'd do everything she could to help me get through it as quickly as possible. Not War and Peace specifically, but
yeah, well, I think that was the joke. Yeah.
See, now for me, I had to read the Scarlet Letter, and I could not get through it. It just there's just something I love to read. I was reading J.R. Tolkien when I was 4. Okay, so if I could read The Hobbit when I was 4, I should have no problem reading this book, but I just could not get through it.
There is something.
My mother, bless her soul, read the whole darn book and then gave me the Cliff Notes version of it so I could write my book report.
Yeah, let's be honest. There are some stories that are far more enjoyable than others.
Yes.
And admittedly, some of them come with age, right? Maybe you don't appreciate them when they're assigned in school, but as you get older, maybe sometimes. But then sometimes you look back and you go, no, yeah, that kind of sucked. I don't care what age you are. You know, I've got some strong opinions about Shakespeare. I like Shakespeare, but not all of Shakespeare. And some of the ones I don't like are the ones that people hold in the highest regard. It's like sometimes I wonder, did you actually read these stories? Did you compare one to the other? You know, it's like he clearly, you know, relaxed a little bit when he did Hamlet. When he did Romeo and Juliet, he was a little bit stuffier, you know. Maybe let the iambic pentameter relax a little bit.
Romeo and Juliet was about 2 stupid kids.
Yeah.
It's not a love story. It's 2 kids being stupid.
Yeah. Anyway, besides, I happen to like Hamlet because I read it in Klingon. So, anyway.
The original Klingon.
Yes, exactly.
Yes, he read in the original Klingon.
Let me tell you, I am not even joking when I say if you haven't read Hamlet in Klingon, you really are missing out on a whole different interpretation. Because if you think it through from the point of view of a Klingon, Hamlet should be a very short book. You know, wait, my uncle killed my father and he was having an affair with my mother. Challenge him, kill him, it's done. You know?
Well,
but there's a lot more story there because there's other elements.
There's a ghost, and can you trust the ghost of the dad?
It doesn't matter. It's a matter of honor. He challenges.
I thought he had to prove that.
Nope.
Okay.
You know how you prove it? You win the battle. That's how you go now. Like I said. No, that's exactly it. But the people that wrote this story they thought it through. Well, why wouldn't a Klingon just go kill his uncle? Oh, because he just returned from years of studying philosophy with the Vulcans, and they screwed up his head. That's why. It's a very good story, let me tell you. When you start digging in like that, you're like, oh my gosh, yeah. It's worth checking out. Shakespeare was like that for me. I was bored by it for some of the way they taught it. Now I find him great and funny. Yes! Oh my gosh! And see, this is why, and I was the nerd in school, right? Like I said, did not care for Romeo and Juliet, right? But we're reading Hamlet in class, and they get to that line, do you recognize me or whatever? Oh yes, you're a fishmonger. I swear that it was my buddy David. He was sitting 3 chairs up from me. I remember this distinctly. He's reading it. This was the first time I'd read that line, and I burst out laughing. And everyone turns and looks at me, and David thought he had said something wrong or something like that. I'm like, he's a fishmonger. And the teacher paused and laughed, and she says, Troy, can you explain this joke? And I did. She's like, wow. She's like, in all the years of me teaching this story, no one ever got that this was a joke and what the humor was. I'm like, it's just kind of obvious. Well, sure, when you're reading like a, freshman in a high school, droning on, not really paying attention to the words you're saying, sure, you don't catch the joke. But when you think it through, when you're reading a little bit ahead in your own head, you're like, fish. He thinks he's a fish. And he's pretending to be crazy, but he's not really crazy,
He's a fishmonger.
Anyway, sorry, just got me off on my Hamlet tangent there.
I have a stream coming up.
Oh yeah, what's that?
Tomorrow
right,
night, 8 o'clock, Chris P. and I will be rambling about video games. Probably Castlevania. I think he's wanting to talk to me about that. So
Wow, okay.
we'll go on for like an hour on 8 p.m. We'll talk for about an hour, maybe 90 minutes at most. But
Castlevania's the one with the wall chicken, right?
Yeah. Oh my goodness. You know something?
You know,
Huh.
because you were talking about like New Year's and stuff, we can do the Klingon Christmas Carol for Christmas or for New Year's.
I'll think about it. Yeah, I'll think about that. But yeah, so tomorrow, crispy wall chicken. Sounds good.
Wall chicken.
I like wall chicken.
Dude, it's not.
I love the idea of I'm dying. I need to eat something to regain my hit points. I'll punch a hole in this wall and pull out this food that's been here for who knows how long.
It's where things. It's a video game.
It's wall chicken.
I get
It's
it.
like a hidden bonus.
Yes, I get it.
Oh.
And, I'm sure people think about that as they build their house. They're like, you know what? Before I put up this drywall, let me put, a roast leg of lamb right here just in case I need it someday.
You know what? Maybe it's like jerky. It'll last a while. Okay.
You got something there, a hardtack, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And everybody that follows tasting history just pictured him slapping the two pieces of hardtack together.
Yes. He does not like the hardtack.
That is, he gets a lot of mileage out of that. Every time he brings up a food that's like, that lasts a long time. Yeah, it was like the medieval version of hardtack, and he cuts that shot of himself knocking the two biscuits together.
What is hardtack? A form of
It's
cracker?
literally, it's a very, very hard piece of dry bread that does not go bad as long as you keep it dry.
Didn't the Israelites create the cracker? Didn't that come from them?
No, actually, I think that was the NAACP.
All right. All right.
Okay, on that note.
And you've just been demonetized, and you're not even monetized yet.
My channel, my beautiful, beautiful channel. Ruined. I'm okay.
Gosh.
I'm okay. End scene. All right.
That's seen.
All right. All right. On to me. Well, this Thursday at 3 p.m., I'm going to be joining Jedi Bill for Action Theater, and we are going to be watching the greatest Christmas movie of all time, Die Hard.
I was just going to say Die Hard, right?
All right. And of course, following Netters over on Thursday Things will be the Weekend Update, the Christmas Weekend Edition. And it's basically going to be about a half hour of me telling everybody I don't know what I'm going to be doing this weekend. Because I don't have anything. I do want to do at least one more unscripted and one more midnight other side of midnight show before the end of the year. I just don't know if I'm going to be doing it this week or next. However, on Sunday also at 3 p.m. I am once again going to be joining Jedi Bill for Western Cinema Presents, and we are going to be watching The Three Amigos.
There you go.
I remember that movie.
All right. Yes.
He's not only famous, he's infamous. Infamous.
Infamous.
El Guapo, was that the villain in that?
El Guapo.
Yes, yes.
We're very sorry, Mr. El Guapo, sir. We would like to go home now. Don't kill us.
I remember.
Been shot already. I know.
Oh. Do you know anything about foreplay? When they asked the young lady that who was supposed to marry El Guapo, says, "No, that's fine. Neither does El Guapo," or something. It's just, that's a funny movie.
When is she going to marry you? Tonight, or I'll kill her. You know? I don't think this is how that's done. Okay.
I guess that is a Western, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. It is a Western. Yeah.
All right. Oh, I'd like to thank everybody once again for being here. We have Lester San Jose the Skeptic Tank who joined us right at the end. If you missed the show, please go back, hit the rewind, and you'll get the whole skinny on the first half of The Secret Diary of Laura Palmer. And join us right back here next week, same bat time, same bat channel, for part 2. All right. For Knitters Network, for Last Call with Troy Pacelli, and for Aged Boomer, from HQ, good night, take care, stay strong, because this is how we win.